mess up my hair doing all that.
I think they're online now. Let's check. Yep.
What are you talking about?
Hey, there they are.
You can see the light.
I got them. I'm watching on the tablet. Easy beans.
That was my chair.
I don't know about that.
Hi.
Hi, Nikki. How you doing?
I'm great.
Hey, welcome back to Rialta.
News.
She does the special effects. Hey, great to see you. Can't see you though. But great to be seen.
Great to be seen.
Hey, I'm Tim. This is Nikki, and we're going to talk about some Rialta stuff today. And one of the things that we wanted to get to in this video, actually the whole video, is about what?
Rialta Essentials.
Essentials. We have notes even. Yes, Rialta Essentials. So outside of just the normal camping and RV things that you need to bring, you know, that you get when you get a camper, there's some things that are kind of essential to the Rialtas. But first, a funny story, because we have friends that are, and you might too, so let us know if you have friends that have done the same thing. And we were kind of that way. You get ready to get a camper, and you watch all these videos, read all these articles, right? And everybody's like, top 5 favorite whatever's, top 10 things you can't live without, right?
Right. There's a lot of those videos.
There's a lot of those videos. And that list, that shopping list is massive. Like, how much money if you did all those top 10?
Yeah. You have to sell your house.
No, not quite. But it's it's like thousands of dollars, right? So we have friends, and they're not super good friends, so they're probably not watching this, so we're going to talk about them. Actually, they are really good friends, but they're probably not watching this now, so they'll watch it later, and then I'll hear about it. But we have actually a lot of friends that have done this, and they go out and you can tell they watched all the videos because they have all the same stuff. Like, I got the same, sewer hose, the same Blackstone grill, right? And I got the same this, and I got the same that. And I'm like, wow, man, so you're going camping, they got more stuff in their RV than I've got on my back patio. And they're taking it out camping. And then it's like doing a 50-course meal and all this fancy stuff. So nothing wrong with that. We're not going to talk about that stuff today. Because if you want to do all that stuff in your camper, then you probably need a bigger camper than just
I like to camp and go camp. I don't like to go and have to make meals, and
you don't want to wash dishes.
You
don't want to wash dishes.
Yeah, I want to go like it's vacation, not where I'm having to do the same stuff in a camper that I'm doing at home.
I remember there was a video where this gal was talking about the best bucket to put in the sink to help you wash dishes, and how to do the rinse, and how to do the soap, and how to dump the water, and not do your gray tank. And I looked over, I was like, ooh, this is really cool. And I looked over at her. She was not having it. It's like, we ain't going there if I'm doing dishes. That's not why I'm going. A dish or two is probably okay, but that was funny.
The most I'll do is make that bed and take that bed down.
Nah, it was funny. Okay, so that's not what this is. The Rialta Essentials here are, look, if you're considering buying a Rialta, or if you already have one, there are certain things that probably are a really good idea for you to take with you. Now, there's a couple different lists already made. Roga's got a list. Brad, I think, put one together, or Mark on there. Rialtainfo.com. So remember that, Rialtainfo.com. It's not written here. I'm just bouncing my hand. Rialtainfo.com. There's a bunch of things in there that you can read. Tons of information, actually. But we just wanted to kind of get some of it together for us, because you commented the other day that I have like a lot of tools in there, and it's really heavy.
Yes, that's probably the heaviest thing we carry in that car is your tool bag.
Why do I carry so many tools?
Because, things happen, and it's good to have tools whenever
But do they all happen? Like when we drive, do I use all those tools?
No, but there's been times that you've needed a tool or two, and you had it. Praise the Lord.
Because I have 400 pounds of tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, I overdo it, but then I turn wrenches. I like working on stuff, and I'm mechanically inclined, I guess would be what you say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like having the tools with me. If something goes south, I like to work on it or help somebody else if something's doing that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. He's done that before. Actually helped somebody while we were out. So
yeah,
it's good to have the tools.
so that's for me. So do you really need to bring that much stuff in the toolkit? Let's talk about the toolkit first. First of all, no, you don't need 400 pounds of tools. You don't have to go out and buy all kinds of specialized tools. And here's the reality. Are you going to fix your Rialta by yourself? Are you going to work on your Rialta? Or are you going, well, what would you do? If you're driving it without me, would you stop and be fixing things if they're broken? What would you do?
If it's me, I'd probably just have a couple of screwdrivers because I really don't know what I'm doing. So I'd have to call somebody.
Call it, yeah. So your toolkit basics, right? I mean, it's probably always good to have a hammer or something to move things around. And this is if you hit something on the road and it knocks something sideways into something else, and it's like rubbing on the tire or something. You might need to knock something around just to get by. A couple of screwdrivers, right? Regular end, Phillips. Have a pair of pliers with you.
Pliers.
Pair of locking pliers like vice grips, have that with you. I would have examples to show you, but you can look these things up. If you need examples of what we are talking about, just ask. We'll put them up on the community tab in YouTube probably. So just the basic tools, some wrenches. Remember, it's Volkswagen, so it's metric. But some of the wrenches you might need on the Winnebago side are going to be non-metric. They're going to be standard. So maybe even just an adjustable wrench, what we used to call a crescent wrench, right? That might be good. And don't get the cheapest knockoff Walmart $9 toolkit Chinese tools.
Yeah.
They won't.
You want those to break while you're trying to fix something.
Yeah, they won't hold up, You can get a couple steps up from there. You don't need to buy Snap-on or Mac or
Harbor
anything.
Freight.
Yeah, but get something fairly decent in the toolkit. Anything else you got on there for the toolkit?
Well, you have electrical tape and flashlight warning triangles.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of toolkit, but kind of emergency road kit.
Yeah.
If you have one, so if you bought like in Volkswagen, if you buy a new Volkswagen, you can get a roadside emergency kit, which is kind of cool. It's got some gloves and some triangles and things for alerting folks. If you have a roadside kit in your vehicle that you can take with you in Rialta, that might be good. You could probably buy one set up that way, but make your own if not. If you end up being pulled off on the side of the road, it can be a dangerous place to be, right? And if you're pulled off on the side of the road with no power, then you might not have those flashing lights and things. And you want people to see you. So little triangles, or even now, the little LED lights that just flash, you can just, little pucks, you just set them out. They're very inexpensive. Again, Harbor Freight or Amazon, something.
Yeah.
Have that. Electrical tape is important if you need to. Well, you tell me, what would you use electrical tape for?
Something electrical.
To tape it.
To tape.
She's calling roadside assistance. Yeah. So if any of your wires come loose, or if anything is rubbing, just it's an older vehicle, and if you have wires that are exposed, electrical tape will cover those up.
Yeah.
And can get you by. It'll keep wires from touching or arcing or anything like that. So always good to have electrical tape. I also roll of duct tape would be good. It's one of the things that can happen, right, is leaks. Like something could hit the coach and knock your skylight loose. We had folks at the rally, I think it was, but somebody had a leaking skylight. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. They were working on it while we were.
Yeah, so, well, what did they do? Did they fix the leak on the skylight while we're there? No. They got up on top.
Got duct tape and plastic.
Taped over plastic and a tarp. So have a tarp or some plastic, even a heavy mill, like a thick garbage bag, trash bag that's got thick plastic, like contractor bag, something like that. Could work. If something is leaking, you may be camping, maybe the squirrels are bombing you and something comes out of the tree or the wind's blowing or whatever.
Yeah, because then you can at least fix it till you get home.
Yep, tape it up, seal it up, tape a little plastic over it, or if nothing else, just the duct tape to seal it up.
I mean, honestly, you should carry duct tape with you anyway. My dad's told me that since 1980, well, whenever I started driving.
You started driving in 1980?
80 something.
Good job.
80s, I don't know.
It was Texas. Things were a little different back then.
My dad's fixed many cars with duct tape.
Duct tape will get it done. You can use it for a lot of things. The side panels on your Rialta, those are kind of held on with adhesive and clips, and Sometimes if you bump up against something, that little lower panel can kind of come loose. Duct tape could be your friend for that.
Yeah.
Door seals that are popping off. If there's a leak on a window.
Yeah, and that's, that's just inevitable. At one point or another, your RV is going to get some kind of leak, probably. Mm-hmm. So it is very important to have that because you don't want the water getting in and just messing up, doing damage.
Yeah. Now remember, duct tape's going to leave some residue, man. That stuff sticks. But to get it done and to close it up and to keep things okay, it's just one of those things.
Important.
A good thing. They used to call it 100-mile-an-hour tape because they tape it up on airplanes and cover the bullet holes with it. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Get a good brand of that too if you can. Yeah, you wrote something good on that list. What's that and why do we need it? Top one. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, a spare key is important to have.
What kind of key?
And, a key to get into your Rialta.
Well, the Rialta has a ton of keys. I have keys for the back compartment, right? I have
spare
key for the side door, key for the water container thing, key for the outside shower, key for the battery compartment. We talked about that.
That's true.
I have keys for...
You have keys everywhere.
I don't think there's not a glove box key. I have keys for the door and for the ignition, right? Should be the same. So which one?
I would say for the ignition or to get in. But that's the same one, right?
Should be the same key.
Okay.
And no guarantees.
So that one.
You're getting a used vehicle, right? No guarantees they're the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a spare ignition key. Why?
Spare. Because,
What
our
happens?
locks have tended to just lock without anybody pushing the button. That's happened a couple of times. So.
What happens if your key's in it?
Yeah, if your key's in, you're locked out.
You're locked out.
And then you forget it because you got to bust a window out or something.
Yeah.
Not
easy to get a Rialta key. So a couple of things. It's hard to find someone who can code you up a new ignition key, right?
Yes.
But you can have a physical copy of your ignition key.
Mm-hmm.
So just a metal key, doesn't have to have the chip and all the stuff. Won't start the car, but what will it do?
Get you in.
Get you in. And where might you keep that spare key? Because, if you're going to the beach, I'm just wearing nothing but a Speedo.
Okay.
And I'm heading off to the beach. I leave my key in the car. Stop picturing it. Wow.
Choke.
Nice.
Anyway.
Hey, if someone pictures you like that and it
Speedo
chokes
shorts.
them up, that's a good thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have the metal container things you can put somewhere underneath.
Yeah,
possibly.
like a little hide a key.
Yeah.
Little emergency key thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. I won't tell you where to put it, but one thing you might check is, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of them, either from the factory or early on in their life, had a little magnetic hide-a-key thing done over by the was it the propane tank or the generator door? One of those doors. Check your rig and just see. You may actually have a spare key sitting down there somewhere. Yeah. Hopefully you got one when you got the car, but you may not. So go down and get a copy made somewhere and then test it out so it works in your door, and then figure out where you're going to carry it. If you bring a wallet, purse, something else, maybe just keep it in there, attach it to it, whatever you're taking with you. Maybe you just have a lanyard with some stuff where you can hang your shades and bring a spare key. And
yeah. Honestly, lanyards are really smart when you go camping and stuff. We've had that at a couple of rallies. When you go cruising, right, you always have a lanyard with your key in it. That's probably pretty smart anytime you go camping, is just to make sure you have a key on you at all times. Because it's just not worth it if you get locked out.
Yeah, it's a bummer, and you don't want to be breaking a window or forcing a window in. And yes, you can call a locksmith. Eventually, they'll show up, and maybe they'll get in without messing up your doors.
But in Texas in the summer, that's not something you want to sit outside and wait for.
No, and who knows who you left or what you left inside?
Yeah,
so.
And that's usually the thing. Your pet's inside, or child's inside,
or you got
something's
chocolate
going
bar,
on. Your chocolate's inside.
Chocolate bar,
one of
Hershey
those
bar on the
things.
counter. So a key.
A key. Spare key, essential.
Spare key's essential. And don't forget the rest of the keys. So essentials when you take your trip. Don't leave the other keys behind. Go around and make sure you have what you need, or you can't maybe get to city water, or you can't get to, opening up the back. Make sure you've got the keys for that. And any of those that you only have one key for, get a copy.
Yeah.
They're standard keys, standard lock keys. Even the side doors on the coach are kind of these standard lock keys. So
yes,
just make sure that you have copies of those keys.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Cool. What else you got on your list?
We have two-way radios.
Ooh, two-way radios, like those little, like a walkie-talkie?
Yep, walkie-talkie.
Neat. What do you think those would be good for? What do we use those for?
Well, we use those because half the time at these campgrounds, there's no Wi-Fi when you go to the restroom or whatever. So it's always good for us to have that then.
Or even cell coverage, not just Wi-Fi. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
too?
cell coverage. Yeah, because you notice in a lot of these bathrooms, you go in there and it's dead. You can't use your phone hardly at all. So.
Well, and honestly, that's so in the city. If you're going to just, Bob's RV Park, not so bad usually. But when we go to campgrounds like state parks, national parks,
for some reason they just block out the bathroom.
Well, it's the boonies. You're out by a lake, right? There's not
true.
a cell tower up for 40 miles. And so, when you're out by yourself, who you going to call, man?
Not Ghostbusters.
Not Ghostbusters. You can't call. So a two-way radio is good.
Two-way radio.
Chat back and forth.
And when you're parking, and you got to tell them, turn right, turn left, whatever.
Yeah, actually, who does two-person parking? Let us know. We do a lot of times. She gets a little frustrated. I'm like, hey, jump out. We got to park this. Because she doesn't want to have to get out and walk back there and stand there.
And I get confused. I'm like, always, and half the time I'm going, go left, and he's just not even looking at me.
Yeah, I don't know what window she's standing by, so I have to figure it out.
I'm like, I'm out here flaring my arms around for no reason.
But I'll tell you what works is using those radios. Because if you use your cell phone, A, you may not have coverage. And B, when you're doing that two-way communication on cell phone, there's a lag.
Yeah.
So if she says, whoa, 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 fire hydrant, right? By the time I hear it, it's not a fire hydrant anymore. It's just yard art.
Yeah.
So we use the two-way radios, and we actually saw this from the folks with the big fifth wheels, that when they back those up, it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And so they'll use a two-way radio, just communicate with each other when they're backing into a space or doing something else. That can go for when you're driving through anything tight. If you're going through these little rock tunnels on special routes in Arkansas or whatever you're doing. Yeah. Yeah, those come in handy. Or just running errands and shopping when you don't have to use a cell phone.
Exactly.
All right, cool. What else you got?
You want to go to coolant?
I see drinking water on there.
Oh, yeah. Drinking water is very important.
Yeah, it's summertime and there's a lot going on. It's hot everywhere, but even if it's wintertime, doesn't matter what time it is, you got to plan for it. So
drinking water.
You can have some fresh water in your camper, in your fresh tank, but if your 12-volt pump's not working, you're not really going to be able to get to that water very well. Now, you could, if you know what you're doing, you can get down there and still try to get it out of there, but not if the diaphragm's not working.
Yeah.
So,
and whatever that is, it could be that you have your bottles, you have your jugs, you have... whatever, just making sure you have water is very important.
Have a little bit of water. You think, we're just going to hit Buc-ee's here in about 40 miles. No big deal. We'll be fine. If something happens 20 miles down the road,
then you're sitting out.
Make sure you got some water. Good for drinking, good for cleaning, washing if something's going on, good for putting out a fire if something's going on. Good for if you need to use the restroom and you just need a little bit of water, in your tanks.
In your tank, yeah.
Just always keep water with you, and if it's not for you, you might need it. You can offer it to somebody else, which is always helpful. Yeah. I know a person who blew up a truck once, and while it was on fire burning, people behind them came up with bottles of water and helped put the truck fire out. This person shall remain unnamed. However, they're not allowed to drive trucks anymore if I like them. Okay, so we had that on there. The other thing that we didn't talk about in the tools is, spare parts. Spare parts. So one thing about the Rialta is, and this is my recommendation, right? I think you should have a spare parts kit that you bring with you. And a lot of people agree with that, some don't. So if you don't have any spare parts, what does that look like? Something goes wrong and something goes out. Fuel pump stops working or something else, right? What's the solution if you didn't have your spare parts kit?
Duct tape.
Yeah, well, you can't duct tape your fuel pump. I like that. That's pretty smart. That's her go-to answer for everything.
Yes.
Okay, but what would you do? You're traveling by yourself. There's a mechanical problem. A belt breaks or something, right? Starts squealing. You don't have spare parts. What are you going to do next?
Cry?
Okay, after you're done crying.
I don't know. Ask you to fix it?
I'm not there. You're doing it. You're taking it on your own.
I'd have to call somebody. Right. I don't know.
You call. Who would you call? You're stranded. Your car broke down. Who would you call?
Well, I'd probably call AAA. But
There you go,
I don't even know if I have
roadside
it.
assistance.
Okay, good.
Right? Okay. So there's two things
Hope I
here.
should know
There's
this.
there's roadside assistance, which I think is absolutely essential
Yes.
for a classic RV, let alone any RV.
Yes.
You should have a plan in place. We don't represent any plans. I don't care which one you get. But something like a AAA or something, probably included with your insurance. Call your insurance person and just ask them. It's probably included. We have one included in ours. If not, Good Sam has one. Who's the other guys we're doing for a while? Escapees.
Escapees.
You can get one through them. You can do AAA, whatever, but get a roadside assistance program.
This is a good refresher for me.
They will send out. They'll send out somebody to come help you, and I doubt they'll bring a mechanic to fix your RV.
Right.
But they can get you at least to somewhere else,
Yeah.
and then get you off the road and go.
Yes.
And it's not inexpensive to get a tow. So if you think roadside assistance is expensive, just try getting a tow. Now you're going to be waiting a while when that happens.
Yes.
Another reason to have some drinking water,
Drinking water.
because you're going to need to settle down and chill out.
Yes.
But spare parts. Let's say that happened and they towed you somewhere and they got you all off the highway and over to a campground or over to a hotel or something.
Mm-hmm.
Now it turns out your ABC is no good and you need to get one. So where do you go to get your auto parts for that car? It's kind of Eurovan parts, maybe not the Winnebago side, but where would you go? That next morning you got to go buy parts, or your mechanic does.
I really am not sure why he's asking me these questions.
Yeah. Well, here's what's going to happen. Her mechanic's going to tell her your whatever needs
we
to be
don't carry
replaced,
that. Yeah.
and I don't have one
Yeah.
because
We got to order it.
It's a Eurovan from the 90s or the early 2000s, and I need to order it, and guess what? They don't have it at Napa. They don't have it at their jobber right down the street. You can't just go get it at O'Reilly, probably.
We've known people with Rialtas who have stayed in hotels for weeks waiting for
A full week on a coolant thing
Yeah.
for our friends, when they were going across the country.
Yes.
And it's
They
kind of
have
nice to hang
videos
out
on
in
that
a
on
hotel.
YouTube.
Yeah.
You've probably all seen it.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing, right? If you can carry a few things with you,
Yeah.
it will avoid that.
Yeah.
Prevent it from happening.
Any of the parts I do know that are hard to get or that are European or whatever. Tim does always get extra that we have here. So I agree. As long as it's not like something super heavy or whatever, it's always good for you to carry it.
Yeah, and so you don't even have to carry it with you, right? So let's say in the garage I've got brake calipers, I've got rotors, I've got other parts, maybe a starter or something else. I just have them.
Yeah.
Something happens to me on the road, I can call a buddy of mine or a friend or one of the kids
Yes.
and say, hey, run over to my house and overnight that to me.
Yeah.
Which is going to get it there faster than it would be if I'm just trying to order it from some guy in Latvia off of eBay that's got one off of a European car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of those parts came like 3 weeks later.
Yeah, so what are some of those things to carry? Well, okay, look. Get a hose. Get a kit for repairing heater hose. It'll come with little adapters, little plastic, two-sided piece of plastic. You stick a hose here, and clamp it. So if I got a hole in a heater hose, I can cut the hose, right, with a knife. Easy. You got a knife in your camper already because you're eating steak or whatever. And I can cut that hose, stick that fitting in the middle with a couple of clamps, patch it up, and go. If that doesn't work, we're going to use duct tape.
Duct tape.
Duct tape, yeah. So have a hose repair kit. So some heater hose and some C-clamp or some hose clamps and stuff. That costs you next to nothing, a few bucks at the store.
Yeah.
But one of the things, like the fuel pump runs off of a relay, that little relay's a Volkswagen part. Go get one of those. They're like $15. If you get it on the road because your mechanic's ordering it, A, it's going to take a bunch of time. B, if they can even find it, right? Mm-hmm. And C, it's going to cost, they're going to charge you a bunch of money for it.
Yeah.
So have an extra relay for that handy. There's a few other parts. What we'll do is maybe link over to a list if we can find one that's public facing that everybody can have, or I'll just spit out what I've got on there. But a few things for the car that just kind of keep it running. Mm-hmm. The belt, you want to have a serpentine belt. You want to have a replacement idler pulley because those go bad. Mm-hmm. And the original one's not available, so you probably know, but you can order a different one, and it works great. So have that stuff ready to go. Have some oil, engine oil that's the right oil, so you're not just stopping going, well, I'll just throw whatever in there.
Yeah.
That engine's not going to like you throwing whatever
right
in there.
one.
It's going to be a problem. So get the right oil, have a quart or two handy, get the right transmission fluid, right? Because I know you got the transmission cooler, right? Yeah. If it leaks, you're going to need to put some transmission fluid in. Probably not going to be the easiest to find. You can find it, but when you're 20 miles from nowhere, you probably aren't going to find it.
Yeah.
So have some of that. Have some coolant.
Yeah.
Cars overheat. Hoses leak. Have some coolant. Have it ready to go. You can buy concentrated coolant that you can dilute and mix up, or just get a jug of it, carry a gallon of that coolant.
Yes. I mean, that's the deal, right? The whole Rialta Essentials thing is you're driving a 20-year-old rig. So you got to think about the things when you're on the road that newer campers don't really have to think about, because they have the ability to call someone, get it fixed quickly, you know, whatever, because it's newer, it's in stores. So really think about what it is that your rig has that could possibly go wrong, because you really don't want to be stuck for a week or two somewhere unable to get the parts. I mean, that's kind of the point of this whole essential list.
Yeah, you can't just run to Checker and get it. If you've got a newer coach built on a Chevy chassis or built on a Mercedes chassis or something, or Dodge, you know, it's those parts everybody can get to.
Yes.
Easy to replace. So definitely have those. And then the regular stuff in here too, like fuses. Have a battery pack that you can recharge your phone from in case. Assume your whole 12-volt system went down, something happened to your battery or your charging system. You don't be sitting there with a dead phone, especially if you had to wait a few hours. So kind of have those things handy. We talked about roadside assistance, so that's good. We've talked about spare tire before, but on top of spare tire, make sure you've got the wrench to take those lug nuts off and a jack to do it. And even if you're not going to do it, even if it was you, if you had the tools, when someone showed up, they could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But he may not have the right, or she may not have the right tool, so make sure that you've got it. It came with your Rialta, but make sure you've got it. And by the way, that
and
one
make sure
jack,
you can use it.
that one jack's not going to do the trick.
Yeah, we had an issue with a flat tire on one of our last trips, and he put the jack out. It was awesome that it was there. He set it under there, but then we didn't know if the jack broke, if it broke something on the Rialta, or what. But I don't know if it just didn't hold it correctly.
It needed two jacks to get this done.
Dropped.
Once the tire's off, right, then the control arm dropped, and I needed a second jack to get that lift. I had one to lift the car, but once the wheel was off, everything else lowered, so I needed a second. I had not tried it yet on the car. We made it work, but make sure you've got what you need to get the job done.
Yes.
Right.
Very
Excellent.
important.
If you have questions on that, or if you've got something that really worked well, please share it down below, because folks will be looking like, well, gosh, which one do I need, or how does this work? So type your comments down there and share it. Jumper cables.
Jumper cables.
Yes. Always carry jumper cables. Why is that a thing? People don't do it anymore.
I know. It's
I feel
weird.
like an old guy.
I know. Me too.
Got your jumper cables? Yeah.
You always have jumper cables
We
for
knew
your
that.
car.
All right. What else on your list, Nick?
We have.
We covered that.
We covered that.
Lighter and matches is always good, and you know you're probably bringing that anyway. You're going camping, but double check. Maybe keep an extra set of matches or a lighter handy just to see if you need it. And then I like this outdoor rug you put on here, outdoor mat.
Yeah.
You know that almost falls into that things you got to get for every RV. But why is it like important? Why do you think that's kind of an essential? Because I think it is too.
An outdoor mat.
The mat that goes outside of the big door.
Well, I don't know why it would be any different for Rialta compared to any rig, but maybe because
I'm asking. I don't have.
It's important for any rig, really, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's older. You don't want to mess up the floor.
It doesn't even matter that it's older. It's not special for Rialta, but if you've got a mat like that, and they're usually like plastic, right? You just roll them up. They're not expensive. If you have that, you're not tracking in with it, whatever's outside. But you can also lay it down to work on something or check something, just to look underneath and check if you heard something. What are you going to do, lay on the hot concrete?
That's true.
Or lay in the mud or lay in the ants?
Yeah, we just did that because the concrete was hot when you had to change that tire. So yes, that's a good point. Have the rug for you to get on when the concrete's 1,000 degrees. It'll be important to have when you're working.
Or 20 below.
Or even, yes.
Or
frozen
just
concrete's
wet.
no more fun than
yeah, and that really isn't essential. Just have it, just so you have it, right? It's always good. Okay.
Yep.
What else you got?
Well, I would just say all of your paperwork, your Rialta book.
The big, so it comes
The
with a
big
big folio
thing.
Velcro. It says Winnebago on it, and it should have owner's manuals like for every accessory in your car.
Yes, and I would say that's important too, because we got a RV book from when we bought our Rialta from the actual RV place. So it's a thick catalog.
Mm-hmm.
And so that thing will tell you anything you may need. But your Rialta papers also should have that stuff too. But that, I would carry that book around. It's very good to have.
It's a big pack, right? And it's got a lot of info. If you got it, for at least for the first couple of trips, bring it with you because it has the operating info and the owner's manuals and the specs for all of the components in your car. So the water heater and the furnace. So many people are like, how do I run the furnace? What do I do with the thermos? Nobody showed me. My stove's not. How do I switch from this to that on the fridge? All of that's in those little books.
Yeah.
Take a little time and read it while you're sitting, and that will help you too. So not critical essentials like in a crisis, but you know, if you're trying to get your furnace going and it's not behaving, just if you read through it, it can help you. If you don't have those,
or if you're talking to someone too, it'll tell you.
Yeah, but reach out because everyone that does, we can snap pictures of those, scan them for you, get you the guides, help you out with that information.
Yep.
So the paperwork, I put on here bug spray and repellent.
That's important when you're working on it outside too.
Yeah, it sounds like a normal camping thing, but I would just say for this too, we talked about people getting ants in their rig and whatnot.
Sunblock also.
Even if you're just using off or cutter, if you spray it around and there's like things wanting to crawl up, they're not going to crawl up when they smell that stuff.
Yeah.
But even just some other kind of bug spray, just in case where you're stopped. Now, this isn't just for camping, but let's say I had to pull over on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And it's got a bunch of whatever's crawling around out there.
Yeah.
Right? I just might want some of that if I was going to have to stay there.
Try to spray it while you're working there so you don't get attacked by stuff.
That's me, but you just never know. We got fire ants, you might not, so your mileage might vary on that one. And then you said sunblock. Sunblock's always good. But you know, you got a great person like this that'll hold up shade and keep you cool while you're doing your work. Yeah. So we got the book. We got that. Hey, what did we not mention that you think are essentials? And maybe what might you think? Hey, you should include this in the parts kit because man, I did, and here's why it came in handy for me. So let us know because you can go overboard with that.
I just thought of one that's not on here, or we missed it. The gauge that tells you what's going on in your engine.
Oh, the scan gauge.
Scan gauge. That's important.
Absolutely essential. We saved the best for last. If you've watched it this long, congratulations. Scan gauge. And I hear there's a scan gauge 3 now. There's a new version. So scan gauge plugs into the OBD2 port in the car. Not all of them. The older Rialtas, it doesn't work that way. But it does for the newer ones. Yeah, I don't know the cutoff year. Sorry, folks. 98? We'll look it up. But the scan gauge is great because what it does is it tells you real time the temperature of your coolant, temperature of your oil, temperature of your transmission fluid, pressure, intake, throttle sensor position, all those cool things if you want to know them. But some of them are essential, so you can see if there's trouble before you find out there's trouble.
Yeah,
right?
It definitely brings me peace when we're driving because I can just look at it and, okay, everything's in normal range. When I start thinking, it feels like it's getting too hot or whatever, I like that thing, and I can't even read most of it, but
I'll tell you this.
It does bring peace.
I did my homework, and I ordered my scan gauge before we bought the vehicle.
Yeah.
Which was kind of expensive. I mean, it isn't inexpensive. But I believed in it enough that I ordered that and brought it with us to connect when we picked up the car.
Yes.
Because I wanted to know what was going on with that Rialta. Scan gauge was the way to do it. 'Cause you're not going to find out from the regular gauges.
Yeah.
Temperature is a good example. The temperature gauge is going to just stay where it is. It can vary 50, 60 degrees and it's not going to move off of the center. That's not giving you any good information about water temperature.
Yeah.
So I need to know more than that before it happens. That was helpful. So absolutely recommend scan gauge. There's also, they configure them for the Rialta. So they kind of flash the memory for it. And you want to get that done. So there's a certain place to get it from that's going to make it already set up for the Rialta. So you don't have to download anything. So if you want any more information on that, we'll put some links. We'll put links in here after we get done with the live session.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's a lot of essentials. Look, not trying to scare you off of it, But here's the thing. Don't think that sounds expensive. If you're going to buy a brand new camper, you're going to spend $80,000 or more.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy a Rialta, you can get a cream puff in the 30s.
Yeah.
And then go get a few essentials for a little bit more, a few hundred. Mm-hmm. And you're all set and you're good to go. And now you don't have to worry. And if you get somewhere and he's like, hey, fuel pump's acting up, the relay's bad, no problem. Got a box, pull it out, go ahead and install it, Mr. Mechanic. And all you're paying for is the labor rate.
Yes.
So that's the way to go. Still way less expensive than the alternative.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to spend 8 days in the hotel or whatever.
Yeah.
Which could be cool if you get free breakfast.
It could be a fun vacation too.
If they have bacon or a swimming pool. All right. Well, great. Well, hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in this week. It's great to see y'all. And wherever you are, whatever's going on out there, be safe and enjoy yourselves. Hey, we know there's a lot of challenging stuff going on for everyone out there every day. But just remember, God is good.
All the time.
All the time. All the time. All right. So, hey, really good seeing you. God bless. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.